Welcome back to the Kelly Roach Show. I'm super excited to have here with me today the one and only Rachel Rodgers. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you.
I'm so happy to have you here. And you just made a huge splash with your book, We Should All Be Millionaires. And there have been so many people since you released that first book that along the way have been like, oh, it was so changing for people. It was such a powerful pause for a lot of people. And you just came out with kind of like the sequel, right? Almost like the integration of that, yes. I think we could call it, right? The $1 Million Action. And it's really giving people the step-by-step guide to making wealth a reality for them. So I'm excited to have you on the show today and talk a little bit about that. But you do incredible work with Hello 7. You help people become millionaires. You help people that maybe are the unusual, not suspected type figure out how to build wealth. So I would love for you to just share a little bit of your trajectory, a little bit of your story of like how you arrived at the work that you're doing today. And then let's dig in and let's share some tips and strategies from the book with everyone to give them a dose of inspiration and action that they can take following the show today.
Yes, I love that. So I think it starts back in 2009 when I graduated from law school and it was in the midst of a recession. So I could take a job I don't enjoy, or I could, and that doesn't pay as much as I was planning on making after law school. So pay off all those student loans.
Yeah.
Or I could just become an entrepreneur and do it myself. And I decided to go that route. So I started my own law practice, which I ran for about 6 or 7 years.
Okay.
And while I was running that, I came across a stat that said that the majority of women business owners never make more than $50,000 in annual revenue. Of course, that's not take home, right?
Yeah.
And that was the thing that was like, I really don't like that. I don't want that for myself. I don't want that for other women. And so I think that's when I became really hyper-focused on like, okay, how can I help with this issue and ensure that we all make more money? And so that's what led me to eventually leaving law practice because I got bored with it, to be honest. Yeah. This is what happens. We get good at something and then we're like,
exactly.
I'm done now.
Wait, I just want to pause there for 1 second because it's absolutely so true. As soon as you master something and you actually get good at it, you want to go do something else. People are always wishing that their problems would go away. But it's like, if you didn't have a problem to solve, you probably wouldn't be still enjoying doing what you're doing. But anyway, go ahead. It's so true. Yeah.
Yes. We get bored. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they get bored and then they blow up their business just out of pure boredom. And I'm like, please don't do that because it's like a living, breathing thing that is an asset. You can sell it. You can have somebody else run it. There's so many options besides blowing it up.
For sure.
But I transitioned into coaching and decided to start Hello 7 so that we could really focus on helping people become millionaires. Because you probably recall this too. Like back in the day, everybody was talking about like 6 figures only. And like, there was really no experts talking about how to generate 7 figures or more in your business, especially if it was geared towards women. Like women, it's like, like stay this small, and like that was supposed to be the goal. And I'm like, okay, I've made 6 figures. I've made multiple 6 figures and I'm still on the struggle bus, right? Because I got to pay my team. I have all these expenses and I'm like, I'm taking home, like I was probably taking home 125, 150,000, something like that, back in the day. And I was like, it's good, but I have 2 kids in preschool, a mortgage, which is, you know what I mean? Like by the time I pay those 2 things, I have barely anything left.
No, it's so true. And there's such a misconception of like profit margins and understanding of like the financial element of running a business that I feel like it's so many people are set up to fail before they even start because they think if they build a 6-figure business that things are going to be looking good, right? They don't realize a 6-figure business means you're taking home less than your entry level job, right? And so there's like this whole re-education like that has to happen, right? Yeah.
100%. Yes. And so that's why, I wanted to see people making $1 million because then you can take home a very nice salary. Typically you can have a team or at least a full-time assistant, probably a couple of team members. And then you can start to say like, okay, what else? Right? Like to me, $1 million should be the floor. not the
Yeah.
ceiling. Like that's like,
Yeah.
let's just get there as quickly as we can. And
Yeah.
then let's see what are the opportunities for scaling this thing to the next level. Right.
For
Because
sure.
I want us to have assets that we can sell, right? Assets
Yeah.
that we can trade on, not just, a job, because a lot of us have just well-paying jobs as entrepreneurs, right?
So true.
And I want us to have real businesses. And so that's the other thing too. I just felt like a lot of people were out there teaching marketing and selling, which I love marketing and selling. It's super important. But what about the operations? What about the systems? What about the process? What about the IP, right? What about legal, finance, all of these other pieces of scaling a business that are incredibly important? Customer service, right? Delivering a solid product consistently over time and at scale. And when you pull yourself out of the business, these are all the things that I'm like, no one's talking about this stuff. And this is really important. So that's why I decided to focus on that, to teach women and people of color and queer people and people with disabilities, basically all of the people who I felt like when I was joining programs, business coaching programs, none of those people were in the room. It was all, cisgender, straight white men, able-bodied white men, no queer people, no people of color. I was always the only Black woman ever, everywhere I went. And I just got really tired of it, and I wanted to see more of us at the table. And so I just wanted to teach us how to do it. And so that's why I started the company. And then that's also why I came up with the book and this book as well. It's like all about sharing what I know, right? And helping people to accomplish those goals for themselves. And I just came back from a book tour for this book. And it was amazing. We had 900 people come out, which is incredible for a book tour, like 300 people per stop.
Yeah.
And I heard so many stories about people who joined the club. They were, a program that I run, they were in it for like 9 months, 12 months, 2 years, whatever the time frame is. And they're like, oh, I went from this to that. I went from this. That's all I want to hear is like all of these success stories. And that what fuels me and gets me hyped, and sometimes too, I just want to say for the entrepreneurs listening, sometimes the people who are having the most success are the quietest because they're just heads down doing the work and you don't even know, you don't even hear these incredible stories. I think it's so important to like get out in the world and talk to your people, talk to your customers so that you can see like how much of an impact your work is having. We need that, right? To keep going.
For sure.
So
yeah, no, I totally agree. And you are so speaking my language because, coming from corporate, these are a lot of the things that I was mind blown when I came into the online space, that it was this singular focus on sales and marketing while ignoring like the other 98% of building sustainable companies and asset-based thinking and all of those things. So I love that that's your focus. And something I always like to ask people, because I feel like a lot of the best innovation and a lot of key strategies that can be most effective in a business is when you pull from different industries and different things that are working in one space that aren't being applied in another. Was there anything, Rachel, that either you did in your law firm or that you got from that world that you actually feel like you have utilized quite a bit in Hello 7 that you would want to share from a strategic thinking standpoint, operations, customer delivery? Because I always think that cross-pollination, one, is fascinating, but two, is so, so essential. And I feel like the online space still is like missing a lot of that love. You know what I mean?
Yes. I totally agree. And I completely agree that like, you got to be in other industries and learn, right? Even if you're not in them, you can go to events for those industries.
For sure.
You can immerse yourself like through books or whatever else and learn about other spaces so that you can apply that to the industry that you're in. Right. And that's essentially like what I did in my law practice was, most of the online based law practices, virtual law offices is what they were called back in the day. Very new in 2010 when I started. And very few people doing it. And I literally got on the phone and called all the firms that I could find that were doing it. And they all were willing to talk to me. And they all told me that it wasn't really working for them. And so I was like, that's interesting. But then I also knew about like this online business, online marketing world. So I was like, okay, what are they doing? So I just took the online marketing like strategies and applied it to my law practice. And that's how we grew as fast as we did. So I did that there. And the Same thing like hourly billing. I hate hourly billing. Everyone hates doing the billing at the end of the month. Like it's just a part of the law practice that is a nightmare for all involved, including customers. Because if you say my hourly rate is $300 an hour, they're like, great, that means nothing to me. How can I budget for this? I don't know how many hours it's going to take you to handle this, right? So it's not that helpful. And so I decided to do flat fee only, which was also very new. These are all things that activated, you know, other people in the industry. Other lawyers were mad at me, especially the traditionalists who didn't like, who's this newcomer doing something new? And she's a Black woman. Now we're extra pissed. You know,
that's the best. No, for sure.
Yes, and that's part of it. So at Hello 7, what I brought from the legal industry is, you know, doing an IP audit is something that I regularly did as an intellectual property lawyer. And I brought that in, you know, like auditing what content, because we're creating content all the time. That is intellectual property. And I feel like we become content machines where we're constantly pumping things out, but we're not stopping to say, first of all, what needs protection, right? So that no one else can steal it from us. What can we capitalize on? How can we reuse that content to scale this business instead of just constantly creating new things, right? Like sometimes we just need to capitalize on the old things that are sitting there that are assets. I think it's so like just that idea that intellectual property and content is IP. And IP is something that can scale a business. That is what is the lifeblood of most corporations, right? It's the brand, it's the trade secrets, right? It's the copyrights, like all of that is how you scale a business. And I think we just pump it out and take it for granted. So that I think that focus on intellectual property and saying, how can we capitalize on this IP? How can we introduce it to our customers? How can we dole it out in a way? So that was key. The heart of Hello 7 is our framework, which is called the Growth Scale, which is just me sort of downloading my brain. What is the process that I take people through to be successful from 0 to 7 figures if I was coaching them by myself? And then how can I turn it into a process and a framework that I can train other people to deliver to our clients so that I don't have to be there to have success. And that's where we're at now. So I think those principles of intellectual property, like if we could see more focus on that in business and online business, we would see people scaling more and realizing they don't always have to be present in order for their customers to get success.
I could not agree more. And I'm so happy to hear you say that, because I think so many service-based business owners are still of the mindset that they have to be the person delivering in order for the customer to get a result. And that's only true if you have not operationalized your content into a system that others can facilitate. And I love so much that you're bringing it back to that, because it is the difference between you being the business and creating an asset that ultimately can be sold. And that's where we need to get people to, because to your point about people having a 6 or multiple 6-figure business and not even being able to take home a reasonable income, this is a lot of what keeps them stuck. They're still the person that's being the business instead of building a company. So I love that so much. I do have one question. I want to go back before we go forward, Rachel, with operationalize or protecting IP, right? So I know it can be really difficult to get a trademark for a methodology, right? What are some of the ways that you would recommend that content creators or service-based business owners, that content is the centerpiece of what they're teaching, what they're delivering, whatever? What are some of the ways that you would recommend that they try to get protection for that?
Getting a trademark is not that complicated. I definitely recommend hiring a lawyer to do it. So protecting the brand names or all, like not only the name of the business, but all the sub brands that you're using as well. If you'd be mad to see somebody else using that, and you feel like that might confuse your customers, then you should be protecting it first and foremost. But then copyright registration too. This is something like my advice to clients used to be like, every quarter you need to go back and look at what have we created this quarter that is new that we need to go register the copyrights for to make sure all of your IP is protected. But then some of it can just be protected with trade secrets, which means that like your source materials, every contractor is not seeing it. Every team member may not even be seeing it. Right. And you're not sharing, like we have something we call a scope and sequence, right? It's just like, this is all of the back end of our framework. We're not sharing that, right? We're sharing what comes from that, which is the course materials, right? The workbooks, all of those things that come from that original framework, and only certain team members have access to it, right? It doesn't need to be seen by everyone if they're not using it for their job. And that's kind of how you how you can protect that as well if you don't want to register the copyright for it, which is actually what I would recommend.
Yeah.
So
no, that makes total sense.
I think part of it is not just the mechanics of the protection, but it's also the thinking, right? It's just
it is the thinking, because why protect it if you're not thinking that way? It doesn't even matter if you go and go file 18 copyrights or trademark, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes, because it's like, what are you doing to capitalize on that content that you have created? How can you extend the life of it? How can you have it serving as many people as possible? I think we create things and then we leave them on our like digital shelf, let them collect dust and forget about them, you know, instead of consistently keep selling that thing, talk about it in a fresh new way, maybe update it, you know, annually or semi-annual, however often you need to do it. Right. But like that one thing can be making you money for many, many years. And I think not productizing the business is the thing between is your ceiling $1 million or is that your floor? Right. Because if you don't, you can get to $1 million without a team. It's going to be painful, but you can get there, but you can't get to 10 million without a team. Right. And you're not getting to 25 million without a team and without systems and process. So all of that is like when people say like, oh, I just don't want to have a team. And I'm like, cool, but just like, make sure you understand what that means for your goals. Right.
And what it means for your life, Like, why did you become an entrepreneur, right? And I think so many people have like this build up baggage and trauma around team because they've had issues or they struggled or whatever the case. But you have to learn that so much of the issues that you have with team is because of you. And like, okay, right. So, I mean, that's great to say, I don't want to have a team, but maybe what you need to say is, I'm not the leader that the right team would want to follow. And I need to become that leader. And then maybe it would look a lot different to have a team. Right. So that's that awareness building that we all have to work on, you know, as we continue on our journeys, which, speaking of baggage, one of the things that you talk about in the new book is you talk about kind of like releasing the emotional baggage around money and wealth and all those things. And I don't care if someone listening to this show is in a startup phase or they're already running a multiple 8-figure company, whatever level of next you're looking for, there's a next level of you opening yourself up from a safety perspective to be in alignment with pursuing it. So can you talk a little bit about some of what you share in the book around that?
We have to forgive ourselves because I think we allow our financial mistakes or missteps, same thing, leadership mistakes with team members. We make that mean I'm not good with money. I'm not a good leader. So basically this whole new world is not available to me. It's not open to me because I'm not these things. And it's like, why are you taking one mistake on as your entire identity?
Your identity. You know what I mean?
Why are we doing this?
So
it's like, I've made financial mistakes, which, by the way, guess how you get good with money? Making mistakes and then you learn from them. Right. That's how you get good at anything is you make mistakes, you learn from them, and then you apply those learnings. That's what makes us good leaders. That's what makes us good with money. But money has so much emotional baggage with it, and there's so much shame around it. And I think shame, my friend Tiffany Aliche says, shame shields solutions, which is so incredibly true. If you're not willing to say, hey, I'm struggling with my financial situation, I don't know how to manage the money of this business. Or if you're struggling with, I don't know how to manage this team and I need help, right? Like if we're not willing to put ourselves out there and ask for help, we're never going to get the support we need to get to the next level. So forgiving yourself from that and then reframing the thinking around it. Like it's not that you're bad with money. It's that you made one mistake, you've learned from it, and you're going to study and do the things you need to do to get better at it. You know, so changing the thinking, like, is this thinking that closes off all opportunity, makes you feel bad about yourself, right? Causes you to shrink? Or is this the thinking that opens you up, that's expansive, that moves you towards abundance, that allows for opportunity? Because one of the things that I think is particular to women too, is that, you know, we take on the world's opinions of us, right? And so the world will say women are not good with money. The world will pretend that women are not good leaders. These are still things that hang out in the air. We take them on and then we take on that identity, right? And we make them self-fulfilling prophecies. And so it's important that we challenge that. And the reality is the stats show that women are actually great with money. Women are better investors than men, right? Like women are better leaders and executives than men. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you actually look at it, we're better at a lot of these things. So don't take that on, right? And choose to take on the identity of what you want to become. If you want to be a bomb ass CEO, then take on that identity now and say, what would an amazing CEO do? They would study, they would learn, they would have a community of people that they can draw information from, right? Like they would do these things to set themselves up for success instead of just saying, I'm not good enough.
Yeah, so good. I love not taking on the identity. And I think the other thing too is like, if you're of the recognition that something that you did was a mistake or that you aren't happy with how something played out or whatever the case, you've already gotten the awareness that was necessary to move to the next step. But then if you refuse to move to the next step because you still keep beating yourself up that you took the first step, it's like the whole point was to give you the lesson that you needed to learn in order to go to the next, step in the process. So I really love that you're addressing in the book the mindset and then the mechanics, because you can give everybody their $1 million action plan. You can give them what to do. But if we're still living with the baggage, the, blame, still rehashing these things over and over again, at a certain point, like you just have to like forgive yourself, own that you learned the lesson, take what you need to take from it and just move forward so that you can take what you just learned and actually translate that into one of the most profitable things. And I don't know for you, Rachel, but I know for me, all of the biggest successes that I've had came from first the failure that taught me the lesson I needed so that I could then apply that to create the change that I wanted, to create the outcome that I wanted. And I think so many times people get stuck on it and they don't realize it was a gift. It was a gift so that you could learn what you needed so that you could keep moving, right?
Yes. Especially as an author, I'm always like, this is a story I'll be telling in my next book, right? Like every time I make a mistake or something happens,
so good.
It's like, this is a story to tell. This is something that other people will learn from, right? Like you're talking to someone who had a 450 credit score. I had a negative $300,000 net worth. It is actually hilarious to me that I teach about money. Cause like when I was 20 something, you could not have told me that. I would have been like, there's absolutely, you could not find a worse teacher to teach about money.
Yeah.
But all of those mistakes that I made are exactly what make me qualified to teach about it because I made them and I overcame them and I figured out the formula, right? I figured out how to create something out of nothing. And that's really what all my books, all my work is about, is like, who are the people who have no network, who have no money, right? Who don't have a good credit score. They have no resources other than their own God-given talent. And how can we take that God-given talent and turn it into a 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure empire? That's what I'm here to do, right? To show people that there is a way, even when you feel like you have nothing, because I had nothing. And here I am today, right?
Yeah. It's amazing just the assets and tools that we have at our fingertips now that previous generations didn't. And I think it's so easy for people to forget like what we've been given with the ability to live stream, with social media, with the access that we have on the internet. Like
to talk to each other, listen to podcasts.
It's amazing. And I feel like it's become so normalized that now people are no longer fully utilizing the tool that they've been given because it's like, it's been so taken for granted now. Like I remember when live streaming first became made available, I was like, this is mind blowing. Like we were all live streaming all the time. And that's really how I scaled my business because I was like, oh my gosh, you can have a free commercial to your audience 24 hours a day, 7 days a week and just talk to people and like, get them to buy things from you. I was like, this is insane. Like imagine what it would be like, how hard it would be to get a spot on QVC. We all just got a spot on QVC 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but we forget, right?
Yes. And then we don't use it. We don't use the tools that are available to us. And that's why I'm like, listen, we got to really watch the complaining. We have to really watch the negativity that we put out into the world. Cause it's like, how is that actually keeping you from your dreams and keeping you from seeing so much possibility, right? Like that's what I believe about scarcity, that when we're in scarcity, you can have an engraved invitation, but you think you're being rejected, right? It's a mind-boggling and it drives me bananas. I'm like, if you could only see the opportunity. The example that I like to give to help people to see it is Madam C.J. Walker, the first female millionaire in America, a Black woman, right? Which you wouldn't expect, especially coming out of Reconstruction right after slavery. Like this is the worst time in the world, for Black people in America. And And she is taking whatever she has, whatever resources, her voice, what little money she can scrape together, right? Her drive and determination. That's all she had. No support network. She was a single mom. She had abusive husbands, both of whom she had to leave, right? Like this was her story. And she was able to turn herself into a millionaire then. So I'm like, if Madam CJ Walker could do it then, please shut up, right? Like I don't want to hear any excuses when we have the internet and all of the resources we have today.
I love that. It's so true. And it's like, sometimes we just have to like wake ourselves up and remember that. I know we could talk for hours. I want to make sure we invite people to take advantage of the book. But before we do, can you just talk quickly about the Daily 7? So I saw that this is something you teach in the book. I think this is really interesting. I would love if you could just give us a quick and dirty, and then we'll have people go get the book and they can go through the full method inside the book.
So the Daily 7 is about like the habits of becoming a millionaire, right? Who do you have to become? How do you have to show up if you want to be a millionaire someday? We have to start to be that person today if we want to usher in, right? We have to start making $1 million decisions today if we want to, make that identity real. And so the Daily 7 is about like, what are the action steps that I took, right, that allowed me to get there? And so, some of my favorites from the Daily 7 are delegate every single day. Every day when I get my to-do list, when I have like, okay, here's all the things on my to-do list, I'm like, who can go to that meeting instead of me, right? Who can take care of this action step instead of me? Who can pay that bill instead of me? Who can handle this instead of me, right? So that I can use my time to do only what I can do, which is write books or create content or the things that are squarely in my wheelhouse that are my genius, right? So protecting your time is key. So delegating every single day. Another one is looking at your money. You have to look at your money, right? You have to pay attention to your money if you want to have more of it. If you have 2 cents today, great. Look at those 2 cents, right? And say, what can I do to get more of it?
Love it.
Doing a money generating activity every single day, right? What are you doing to pitch yourself, to put yourself out there, to reach more people, right? To, to raise the awareness of your business, right? What are you doing every day in that direction? The other things that are surprising to people are move your body every day. These are the things that help you clear your mind so you can show up as your best. Connect with your squad every day. What are you doing to like connect with those people that lift you up, that support you? Community is so crucial to our success formula, right? So the Daily 7 is about like really paying attention to those elements of success and ensuring that you're giving them all attention every single day, because those are the things that are going to take you to the next level. So that's why it's so important, to like have actually the kinds of habits that lead us to becoming millionaires. And we can all be those people. And incidentally, you feel better, right? You feel better, you're happier, which means you're going to produce your best work.
It's so true. It's so true. Rachel, it was so awesome having you on the show today, and you just do beautiful work. And I want to encourage everyone, if you haven't already gotten the first book, definitely do that. Maybe order a bundle. We Should All Be Millionaires, but also the $1 Million Action Plan. So where's the best place for people to grab the book? Where would you like people to connect to just follow along with everything you have going on, Rachel?
If you go to milliondollar.action.com, you can check out the book and see everywhere where it's sold. We're actually doing a virtual book tour coming up. So if you want to join us for that, for a live discussion, then you can join us for that. And then I'm Rachel Rodgers ESQ on Instagram. Find me there. Sharing uplifting things, no negativity, just positivity, because we got enough negativity in the world. We don't need to add to it. So those are the 2 places you can find me. And the Hello 7 podcast is coming back soon. So that will be another place that people can check us out.
Thank you so much for being here, Rachel. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you got value out of the conversation today, sharing is caring. Pass this along to another person who should be a millionaire. And Rachel, thanks for being here. Keep doing the amazing work with Hello 7. You're changing so many lives. And I'm really glad that we got to have the conversation today.